Midnight has been sold to us as an expansion of the Void, but that doesn't mean the light is not involved. That's right, we've already seen it in the cinematic. The light summoning an army, all kinds of shit going on with the light. Turalyon leaving his seat in Stormwind to go to Silvermoon. I mean, lots of shit going on, and maybe some overzealot light users. Maybe we should be careful, specifically about Turalyon. The title of this video here, Turalyon is not evil. He's something worse. Let's see what Bellular has to say about the path Turalyon might go down here in Midnight.
Are we facing down a wall of retcons, or is this just the next step in Warcraft's story? That's a debate that's raging in the community right now. It's leading to people marshalling references, pulling quotes from decades-old novels, destroying each other in forums and on Twitter. It's a fight for the life and soul of the game. So you may be wondering,
Hold on, where is the people freak out about the light all the time, saying the light is where is the proof that Turalyon is a pure racist? What is that? He married an elf. He's fucking an elf. His son's a half elf. What are you talking about? He's a racist. I don't know where this comes from. Also, he's like part of the Army of the Light that is like, I don't know, it's like probably like 80% Draenei. So at least where he was fighting. So 1,000 Years of War, he fought side by side with Draenei and fucked an elf. I don't know how racist can you be if you're doing that shit. Anyways.
So you may be wondering, what's actually got people fired up? Well, it's whether or not Turalyon is a light-based, to not say the demonetization word, National Socialist. Or rather, the way that Blizzard are implementing the story of the light in the Midnight expansion. Now, we all know the light can be bad. We've seen that loads of times in the game. But is it going to get, like, that bad? As bad as people are worried? And more importantly, is it a retcon? Is what they're doing now different, or was it always there when you actually have a close read of the text? Now, you may know Turalyon as a light-forged paladin, the guy that we found in Argus, the one we've been fighting alongside ever since. But you may not know his kind of glorious history. He was at Blackrock Mountain.
He was a badass, okay? I'm gonna say it right now. He was a badass. He fought in a war for 1,000 years. How could he not be a badass? Sacrificed everything to save Azeroth. And he got that nice, Windrunner titty magic going. So, of course, he was a Giga Chad. I do think they kind of played him weird in Legion. I don't know. I feel like I would expect him to be wiser. He should have seen some of the... Maybe he's a little bit blinded by the light. He didn't see that Zera was kind of pulling some weird shit with Illidan. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think he was just trying to help. And he thought by Illidan becoming Lightforged that it was going to help them. And then Illidan did his whole I am my scars thing, and it pissed him off. Ooh, it is what it is. He's been an alright king for Stormwind. I thought he would have done some radical shit by now, and he hasn't. So, overall, he's been an okay person. Hasn't done anything too crazy yet.
When Anduin Lothar died, it was Turalyon who stepped up and defeated Ogrim Doomhammer, who ended the Old Horde and saved Azeroth.
Yeah.
But that is where things get controversial today. That pivotal moment, the one that defined his entire character.
Now, you know the guy that Orgrimmar is named after? Turalyon beat his ass, yep.
Has perhaps been changed. During Arator's Journey quest chain, which is a campaign chapter that delves into the Light's history in the Midnight expansion, Kurdran Wildhammer and Danath Trollbane, two big boys from the Second War, they tell the story rather differently, and analysing what they changed reveals exactly where this is all headed. Quick sidebar though, because I think there's something that's exhausted both of us. And that's the constant juggle between dead batteries and random cables everywhere. And that is where Ugreen's latest trio sorts everything out, and they've sponsored today's video. First, I've got to show you their 20.
He was a racist, you will see why. And he was not in Azeroth while the Second War happened. I didn't say he was. He was fighting the 1,000 Years War. Out in space, fighting against the Legion. I wonder, why was he a racist?
At 165 watts total.
I wonder what you're getting at. I'm not sure. His hatred for orcs was because they were fighting against them. It's different.
And 1.3 MacBook Air charges. All awesome. But it gets even better because this is the 65-watt foldable wall charger. It's tiny, 2 USB ports, 1 USB-A, and it's all in a package smaller than the original 61-watt MacBook charger that's only got 1 port. Yet this one can charge 3 devices at once, and it folds flat for travel. There's always one of them living in my bag, but over under my TV, well, what lives there is the Steam Deck dock. It is awesome. 4K 120 over HDMI, 100-watt power delivery, gigabit Ethernet, plus USB-A and C ports.
Nice.
For me,
Buy
I
it
just
now.
use my ROG Ally. It's great. You just plop it in.
Does it matter if he was a racist or not? Well, I mean, not personally. Like, it's not going to affect my job or something, but I was just like, why are people saying he was a racist? I'm just trying to figure it out.
Is that Ugreen's price and performance is just unbeatable, and that gets even better with up to 40% off on their current sale. These are just great practical gifts that'll actually get used.
Wait, Orcomondo's actually a user of the charger.
You should check him out before the sale ends.
Use it.
To understand whether this breaks the lore or is just fulfilling foreshadowing, we first need to understand what the hell's actually happening to these characters. And that's because what's now called light blindness isn't just corruption. It's actually something particularly specific.
Okay, let's see.
Now, in Midnight, Xal'atath attacks the Sunwell.
Right.
We all know that. It's basically the thing that starts the expansion. She is super powerful, and it takes this desperate prayer from Liadrin to save the city, the one that we see in the cinematic. She calls the light, but she does not fully understand what she's actually done in calling the light. And that's because after the Sunwell is saved, an immense light beam basically plugs the void well, but there are consequences from this.
That sounds good.
Liadrin says the energy coming from the well is like nothing she has ever felt. She says it's aggressive, it's demanding, and the armies of the light almost look like an occupying force. But Turalyon says he's not a guest. No, he is the savior of the Sunwell. And
Ooh, okay, well, I mean, if he's saying he's not a guest, that's kind of fucked. But he did save it. I'm just saying. He's not lying. I'm not lying. If he's there, I don't know if Turalyon's there in the fight yet. I mean, we got to play through the entire entry scenario where we do this whole thing. I'm assuming he is there. Maybe he's summoned with the Army of the Light if he's saying that. But they did save it. I'm just saying, be a little bit thankful, people. We showed up. Literally, your shit would be gone. Your city would be destroyed. You would have a Scourge Part 2 to Silvermoon right now if the Army of the Light didn't show up. So yeah, be a little thankful. Maybe invite them into your house for some food or something. But yeah, I already know this is going to happen. Supposedly they start policing the city. They become real dicks. I mean, yeah, they're paladins. What do you expect? Look at the kind of people that play paladins. They're almost always dicks.
even gives himself a new title, Redeemer of the Sunwell. Now, the other person, once entitled Redeemer, is key to this story, and he is Arator, son of Illyrian Turalyon, and he is actually our first experience with light blindness. While fighting in Silvermoon, we find him surrounded by dead Void Revenants, and he tells us he actually doesn't know what happened. Basically, Jesus took the wheel, he kind of blacked out, and suddenly everything around him was dead.
That's kind of cool. Holy crap. So the light is literally just blind, like literal blindness. They don't even remember what happened. The light takes over their body and just uses them as a weapon. Kind of badass.
The light's aggressive energy then floods Eversong Woods, and it makes the light bloom forests rage into life. And from their depths come the light-infused Rutani of Harrendar, who basically have one objective. That objective is unstoppable growth. Later on in the expansion, Lothraxion and other top commanders in the Light's vanguard also fall to
let us lay waste to this
Thank you for the sub on YouTube. I wonder how the Titans would feel about this. Sometimes we see the light as like a Titan aligned force, but it's really not. It's not. Even though the Void is very much anti-Titan, if you got the light overwhelming shit, overgrowth and all that stuff, like that's very anti-Titan. Titans don't like overgrowth of things. That's why the freaking Amanthul ripped out the world trees. He just thinks wild overgrowth is a bad thing. So clearly the light right now is playing into that too.
Light blindness. They essentially black out. They fly into a rage. And what's happening with them is the light is making them turn on anyone that it's deeming unworthy. Which, to give you a spoiler warning, is going to be pretty much everyone, even including your closest allies. For Turalyon, it'll be his family. Now, those are the symptoms of light blindness, thinking that no one else kind of hits your purity test and flying into a rage at them. You should keep that in mind, because this controversy isn't about Midnight. It's actually about whether we've seen this before, and specifically, whether we've seen it during one battle in Warcraft 2.
Oh, We're going way back.
The Battle of Blackrock Mountain was the final battle of the Second War. The Orcs had been close to victory, but in their push for Lordaeron's capital, Gul'dan split the Horde forces and brought his warlocks to the Broken Shore in search of Sargeras' power. Basically, he went on an unhinged side quest that just ruined his whole side's chances. Now, seeing this as a great opportunity, Anduin Lothar led the Alliance forces from the city. He smashed the Horde to pieces on the Tirisfal plains, and at the front of the Alliance advance were the Knights of the Silver Hand, and amongst them, Turalyon. They hounded the Horde all the way south to their stronghold at Blackrock Mountain.
Badass
and
fight.
Here, actually where this statue stands today, Anduin Lothar led the final charge against the Orcs.
Anduin Lothar, man, it was such a badass. It's kind of sad to see, you know, his prodigy. Well, it's not really his direct prodigy, but Anduin himself, right? He's named after him, not being his badass. He should be his badass, right? I mean, you're carrying the Anduin name. You got to be a badass. You got to be a Giga Chad. Look at this shit, right? The sky is orange. Ash falling down all around you. You're at the footsteps of a volcano about to fight an enraged orc army. And this is what... Look at that pose. Badassery. Giga Chadness everywhere.
He pressed on through the Orcs until he finally met their leader, Ogrim Doomhammer, in single combat. But he was not enough. And this is where the lore diverges. In the original lore, Turalyon rose up like Isildur avenging Elendil. And in a flash of light, he struck the Doomhammer.
That's cool.
Not Ogrim Doomhammer, the actual Doomhammer itself.
The weapon.
And he struck the hammer so hard that it fell from Ogrim's hand. But Turalyon did not land the killing blow. Instead, he captured Ogrim and put him on trial. In the new lore, things go rather differently. In the new lore, this moment is the first time that the light blindness took him. And what was a triumph of the human spirit is now a rage induced by the light. But here's the question that everyone's actually fighting.
Is that a bad thing, though? I mean, so what if the light blinded him in that moment and he won a monumental victory to save his race? What the hell? Save the planet. What am I saying? They were allied with everybody at that. What the fuck? What are you talking about? Is that a bad thing? That's a Giga Chad moment. Okay, so the light blinded him. He freaking went off and had the Isildur moment, hit the weapon, shit shatters. Okay, cool.
About. Is this a retcon? Or was there always something a little bit wrong with Turalyon?
Let's be honest, it's probably a retcon, but we'll
just
pretend
something that we didn't fully appreciate.
Let's talk about paladins. Okay, let's do it.
To answer our question, you need to understand what paladins actually were during the Second War. Because the paladins that we see today are on a spectrum between the big crystal dudes from outer space and the plate-clad light avengers from the other side of the world. But the original paladins were more like warrior monks, knights and priests who joined the Order of the Silver Hand to fight the old horde. Some were chill, but most actually were not. You probably remember this guy, Uther. Nice guy Uther, you know, the guy with all of those Hearthstone voice lines that always turned into memes. But you may not have known that during the Second War, he brutally put down a peasant rebellion. It happened in Tyr's Hand, he put the rebellion down, and he moved the Knights of the Silver Hand in to make sure that it didn't happen again. But the thing is, the Silver Hand...
Well, maybe the peasants deserved it, I don't know. I actually don't know anything about this peasant rebellion. I didn't play through this Warcraft. He killed a bunch of peasants. Okay, you know, maybe I don't know what they do. What'd they do? I don't know. They take up arms? They have to fight against them? I have no idea.
Kind of just stayed around. They never left. So certainly a complicated situation, the sort of one that does happen at times of war. But the one who struggled the most with his faith was actually Turalyon. Originally a priest, Turalyon was handpicked by Alonsus Fowl to become a founding member of the Silver Hand. One of the reasons why he was recruited is basically that he was such a hardcore...
Wait, Alonsus Fowl, isn't he the undead guy in the priest order hall? I don't know if there's any priests who play through Legion. Isn't he the one who B-reses Calia-Menethil? Isn't he there for that whole thing? Yeah? Look at that, I remember that shit. Yeah, he's a big-time priest now. Still is at Undeath. Pretty cool.
Priest? That he just picked up
I didn't realize he was the one who, like, recruited Turalyon
to go and smash down orcs with. Now, he actually trained under Sidon Dathrahan. You may know him if you're a big lore nut because he is the founder of the Scarlet Crusade.
He's a racist.
He also trained with Uther and Tyrion Fordring. You know, two altogether pretty good guys. Now, Turalyon was introduced in Warcraft 2 as this sort of ominous paladin with light bleeding from his eyes. He would go on to charge through the dark portal with Illyria and Khadgar. He helped end Ner'zhul's plans and overloaded the portal from his end, trapping himself on a disintegrating Draenor.
Right.
I have to remember the guy who trained him, Dathrahan, the guy who founded the Scarlet Crusade. What we see in this story is that Turalyon was fairly radical even before he disappeared. He was a hardcore priest. But during the 2 decades where we did not see Turalyon, something seems to have changed. And understanding that change is the key to everything in today's story.
Hello, wasn't the Peasant Rebellion a manipulation of Aiden Paranald, Altaric, to cripple the Alliance? That's what I'm saying. I'm like, what was this rebellion about? Was this because they were fighting in the middle of the war here, and then you got a peasant rebellion? This is probably some back-end shit where they convince these peasants to freaking go rise up against the Alliance, right, and specifically the Altaric army, the humans, and try to fuck up shit from the back end. So he probably, killing civilians is never a good thing, but if they were taking up arms against the army, then they weren't really civilians anymore, were they? You're fighting against them, trying to fight a two-sided war isn't going to be a good thing, so they had to quell it, I guess.
For most players, Turalyon transformed from this collection of pixels into this statue. And then we finally met this blinged out guy over in Argus. And it was a very mind-blowing time to be playing the game, as finally the heroes of Beyond the Dark Portal of that Warcraft 2 expansion had been found. Turalyon and Illyria were finally back, something that we'd been speculating.
Civilians can have arms and still be civilians. I mean, yeah, that's called being an American with a gun, of course. But if the civilians band together, form up a militia, and then rise up against the kingdom or the army or whatever, the government, whatever this is here, okay, then you're fighting. Essentially, you're fighting, army against army at that point.
Speculating about for basically 20 years. And not only were they were back as avatars of the light and the
Sam's
void.
gonna press the tire
and they
confirm.
missed so much. The Second Legion invasion, discovering Kalimdor.
What would be even funnier is if that they didn't have arms, and it turns out Uther purged the fucking little village, and then he shit talked Arthas for doing the same thing. Oh no, what's going on there now? Looks like you started the purging, Uther. Your boy Arthas just did what you taught him to do.
On Arator growing up. But while it had been, 20 years for us, they had actually been fighting the Legion for 1,000 years. Because in the Twisting Nether, weird things go on with time. And during that time, Turalyon had started following something new. A Naaru. A prime Naaru called Zera, entitled the Light Mother. Now, she was the first time that we looked at the light and realized that it could be a threat. Not that it could be wielded in a threatening way, as with, say, the Scarlets, but it itself could be a threat. And that's because she was controlling, she was demanding, she was fanatical in every way. Now, her army of the light were currently fighting the Legion. We needed to fight the Legion as well. We were great allies. But as we saw in alternate Draenor, when all other enemies are slain, the light would then turn on its allies.
Yeah, it's almost like the light needs an enemy. It's always looking for an enemy to be purged or something. The light loves purging shit. And when there's no enemy around, that's when shit gets bad. When there's an enemy around, it's great. Because typically it's aligned with us. It understood the Legion was bad. It understood the Void was bad. It understood the old gods were bad. All right? But then when there is no enemy around, it's like, hey, light, you should just take a break. And it's looking around like, no, I have to kill something. Something needs to die today.
Endless purity test. Just check out this audiobook extract. It's from 1,000 Years of War. Quote, "She saw darkened worlds burning in holy fire. She saw millions of creatures encased in luminous crystals the size of mountains, sustained by light and unable to die."
A hunter is nothing without the hunt. Interesting. Dropping the Illidan line there. She saw darkened worlds burning in holy fire, millions of creatures encased in luminous mountains, sustained by the light,
Warriors of the
unable
light
to
were
die.
monsters, corrupting and consuming everything they touched. It's a rather spooky vision of the light that Illyria received. Now, she did receive that vision from the void, so it certainly is suspect, but the light and void are, and always have been, sort of posed as kind of two sides of the same coin. And it's not like that snippet plus the events of AU Draenor are our only bit of evidence. There's the fairly obvious one of Zera and Illidan, where she basically kind of wanted to bind him in service And he said no. Now, in Legion, they were setting up two main things: Illyria's Void Ark and the Light as a potential threat for the future. And that is actually what brings us back to the battle at Blackrock Mountain. Because with everything that we now know about light blindness, about Zera, and about what the light does to its champions and with its champions, I think it's finally time that we look at the original text.
Yeah, okay. Battle for Blackrock.
We've established the key details. Light blindness can turn allies against each other. The Turalyon suffered light blindness at Blackrock Mountain. And of course, there's everything that we know about what the light does to people and how it's
I wonder right now if they're going to say, Tyrion's big moment at the Cap of Icecrown Citadel, you know, where he calls forth the light and he breaks free from the ice and shatters Frostmourne. Was that a light blind moment? I mean, we don't win that fight without that moment happening. We die. It's there. Arthas kills us. He is an endgame boss that we couldn't defeat. He freaking owns us. He kills us. He's going to B-res us as his greatest Death Knights ever and take over the world. And then you have the whole moment, Turalyon calling down the light. Bam. He's out. He breaks free and breaks Frostmourne.
Acted so far in the story. So let's see if the original text already contained, well, the warning signs. As Lothar dies, Turalyon thinks...
No, so I said Turalyon, my bad. Turalyon wasn't there. Wasn't him.
Quote, "How could the holy light unite all creatures, all souls, when something as monstrous, as cruel, as purely evil as the Orc horde walked this world? The Orcs were not of this world. They were foreign to the planet, to this very plane of existence. They came from elsewhere and were powered by demons. That meant his task was clear. He was charged with upholding the holy light and using its blazing glory to scour this world clean of all threats from without and maintain the purity within." Now, this could be Turalyon having some thoughts about the light before he strikes Ogrim. Or it could be those thoughts the light sends to those it is about to blind.
Again, I'll go back to Tyrion's moment in the ice at the top of Icecrown. He's talking out loud. Right, he's thinking, we don't know if, I guess if this is light blindness, it's him talking as the light is about to take over his body. And he's saying, you know, light, grant me strength and all this shit. Bam, shatters the ice, shatters Frostmourne, big moment. Are we just going to chalk that up to light blindness right now? Is Blizzard taking away Giga Chad moments? Is that what they're doing to us with these light blind moments? Or do we still get to say they're Giga Chad moments? Because that was a badass moment.
And it actually gets worse. To continue. Quote, "The Orcs did not belong here, and that meant he could strike them down with impunity. By the light, your time has ended," he shouted, rising to his feet. A brilliant glow sprang up around him. "You are not of this world. You do not belong here. Be gone." Fairly hardcore stuff.
I mean, he's not wrong. They were from another world, right? They didn't belong there. All that shit had happened. They were only there because some demonic fucking magic Gul'dan talking to some demons and shit. Bam! And they sacrificed souls to open up a portal. Oh, now you're in Azeroth. Yeah, they don't belong there. Yeah, the statement before about all of you can be struck down without impunity or whatever. It gets a little bit wild because they brought some women and children. But the reality is when the orcs first went through, they were just a giant orc horde. They sent only soldiers through in the beginning, before they started to settle. So, I mean, they were only fighting an invading army at that point.
Turalyon thinks the orcs are unworthy of life. He summons the light, and then he smashes Ogrim. But he doesn't kill him.
Imagine aliens start invading Earth, and you're fighting against them. I don't think I'd call you a racist before you had a big epic moment where you charged the battlefield and destroyed their leader. If you said, you guys don't belong here, I don't know if I'd call you a racist. Imagine you just lose to. Imagine he loses to wokeness. He can't kill him because it's the woke army told him you can't kill them. You can't kill orcs. What's wrong with you? Yeah, they're from another planet. Yeah, they're destroying your entire society and civilization. Yeah, they're a ravenous horde that's just drank demon blood and they're literally blinded by it, just killing everything inside. But you can't kill them. Come on. It's crazy.
Instead, he captures him and says he will put him on trial.
Garrosh did nothing wrong.
What I just described is getting a new lick of paint in Midnight. Basically, that all those thoughts swirling around Turalyon's mind were some sort of light-blind blackout that we are going to face in Midnight. The light he summoned, which was an immense manifestation for the time, happened because the light already had its eyes on Turalyon and had light-blinded him. So, here's the answer to the 3 questions that are building up in the forums. Has Turalyon got a wee touch of the fash? Well, if you define that as doing the light's will, and, only its will, and doing that fully and purely, yes, he does.
I think he does,
Does that
yeah.
make him an evil person? Well, that'll depend on your personal view. After all, you could say that this is brainwashing. You could also say that it's just his own beliefs being accelerated. Is that a retcon of Turalyon's character? I'm going to say no, I don't think it is. I think it is, paying off foreshadowing. Like in that original text, he is talking in absolutist terms about, purging all of these enemies from far away, but also maintaining purity within.
It's a common thing of a soldier, right? Turalyon is the ultimate soldier. He, like I said, he fought for 1,000 years. And one problem a lot of soldiers have, I can't speak for soldiers, but you see it out there, is once their enemy is defeated, they have a hard time moving on into a world where there is no enemy. So then sometimes they start to create enemies, right? Because that's all they know is like, I must fight. I must fight the good fight. And maybe they did fight the good fight originally. But then, they're looking for something else to fight and there isn't anything. So it kind of goes overboard. And that's probably what's going on with the light here. And all these light soldiers is everything was so simple to them. You are bad. I am good. I will kill you. And then they've killed everything at that point. Okay, now what? They just don't know how to move on with their life. They don't know what to do next. It's just, their life feels meaningless at that point. So then they start to create enemies. Like Goku and DBZ. I don't know about Goku, maybe like Vegeta. Goku don't care about peace times. He just likes to eat when there's peace. And fuck Bulma, maybe. Not Bulma, Chi-Chi, I mean.
And that is the kind of thing
Everybody
that,
wants to fuck Bulma.
Is pure light blindness, turning on your own allies because they're not pure enough. That's set up. It's established in the original text. I don't think carrying that plot thread forward for Turalyon is some massive betrayal. Now, in that, he talks about the orcs in a way that feels completely insane for the orcs of World of Warcraft. But you have to remember, the orcs became a redeemed race in Warcraft 3. It's a big thing that Thrall did. But obviously, Turalyon was nowhere to be seen during Warcraft 3, right? He did not experience the redemption of orc kind. And here's the other thing. In this video, we've absolutely talked about the main bits of evidence, but there have been lots of other little bits of evidence, both in-game and in books, since the Legion expansion, that have all made Turalyon being willing to go very far, being willing to be quite extreme, that have all made that quite a credible notion. But for me to say only that, and to just leave the story there, actually would not be fully honest, because this does actually cost something. You see, with a character, you can have many different potential things set up, and what can matter for your story is not necessarily what is set up, but how you pull on those threads, right? This is absolutely foreshadowed. It is absolutely foregrounded. But this reframing, which does set up a major threat in Midnight, is at the expense of Turalyon's original motivations as a character, or perhaps just what those motivations meant to people who resonated with him. What was once the human spirit triumphing over pure evil is now, at its worst, the light just selecting its instrument. But of course, you could say that's what makes the likes of the light insidious, that whenever it goes bad, it's often because it's gotten into the head of some
Lady Whitemane. I would let the light take me. I would. I'll be honest.
One who is actually
take me, Lady Whitemane,
for very good, for virtuous reasons. Just take a look at the corruption of the Scarlet Crusade. If handled badly, what we'd get is Turalyon becoming a brainwashed light tyrant instead of,
But honestly, he hasn't. Like, he's been at the helm of the Alliance now for, I don't know how long. It's been like 4 years? Technically, I mean, he was there during Shadowlands and everything. He's been there for a while. He has yet to do anything too crazy as the leader of the Alliance, the most powerful army in the world. He could have done some crazy shit. He hasn't. Now, we'll see when push comes to shove, fighting against the Void. Maybe things get intense. We don't know yet. But I will say, when he was given the throne, I mean, he was given access to the greatest army in the world. He didn't really do anything too bad. I thought he might, and I talked about it a couple times, but he really hasn't. He's sat at the throne and maintained the peace.
A hero who chose to fight and to stand up. I think what will make the difference is how well Blizzard tells that story. And more than anything, I'd say that's the most important bit. I think Blizzard absolutely can land the story that they're trying to tell here. But the big question is, will they do that well? If they do, I think people will buy it. If it's a great experience, if it's exciting, if it's interesting, yeah, people will love it. But if they don't do a good job, then people will feel that pulling the thread of Turalyon in this direction was simply not worth it, and that it basically made things worse.
Yeah, look, if they do pull it in the wrong direction and they just basically take every Giga Chad badass moment that's ever happened in the game for the humans and just turns it into some light blind bullshit, then it's not. I'm not gonna like it. It's not gonna be cool. Because like I said, I mean, we have Tyrion Forgering at the top of Icecrown, having one of the most badass moments ever in WoW. You got to remember, this event that we're talking about here with Turalyon, Doomhammer falling, that didn't happen in the game. It was before the game ever happened. But I'm talking about in-game event. Probably, I would put Tyrion's breaking through the ice and destroying Frostmourne. Probably the most badass boss fight moment ever in World of Warcraft. You're going to turn that just a light blind moment? Yeah, it kind of does take away from it all.
So what'll matter is how this actually all comes together, and you need to remember that with anything talked about on the alpha or soon the beta, well, we don't have all the cinematics, and often quest text and stuff like that does actually change. So we have fragments of the story,
Medicine, hopefully.
but we do not have how it's told and how it will come together. But if you do want to understand what's going on, and you want to see everything else that's coming in Midnight, well, check out our big Midnight spoiler cast. If you like this kind of talk, you will love it.
Nice. Yeah. We'll see. Some major things happening with the light and everything else, and we'll see if this radicalized Turalyon does something. I get that some of the paladins are going to go fuck around in Silvermoon after they've been summoned there and do some not so good shit, but a couple bad apples doesn't mean the entire army's bad. We'll see how it all plays out. We'll see how the light plays out. Can the light be evil? Surely, yeah. But does that mean Turalyon's evil? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see what it all means going forward. A nice video here from Bellular, though.